The Trump campaign is defending the former president's visit to Arlington National Cemetery, and so is a Utah family who invited him.
Along with placing a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier, the former commander-in-chief paid his respects at the grave of Staff Sergeant Taylor Hoover, the Sandy Marine who was killed in Afghanistan. Yesterday, it turned political.
What a horrible day it was.
The campaign posted this TikTok video showing Trump at the gravesite posing with family members. And Utah Governor Spencer Cox also made the trip. Several campaign staff posted their content too. And it was some of those photos showing Trump and others at the gravesite smiling and giving a thumbs up that offended many veterans.
It's disrespectful. It's not Disney World. It's Arlington National Cemetery, and it should be respected as such.
That's not all. The cemetery confirms there was an altercation between campaign and cemetery staff who tried to block campaign photographers. However, the father of the fallen Utah Marine at this has a much different take and wants to set the record straight about the former president and Governor Cox's involvement. News specialist Brian Carlson has our story live from the state capitol. What does this fallen soldier's father want people to know, Brian?
Well, Deanie, he says this wasn't something that former President Trump or Governor Cox sought out for their own political gain. He says he invited them there. He says going to Arlington and other memorials with those who support his son is his way of making new memories of him. Darren Hoover asked President Trump and Governor Cox to join him for the third anniversary of his son's death, Staff Sergeant Taylor Hoover, and his visit to Arlington. Hoover was one of 13 service members killed in a suicide bombing in Afghanistan back in 2021. When Trump and Cox showed up this week to support Darren there in Arlington, he says he invited Trump's photographer and videographer to commemorate that moment.
It's a memory. It's a memory that we can have, and if it's shared with the entire world, we're okay with that.
Now, in Darren's eyes, the images that went out from their moment together weren't political. It was the moment of that continued support that both Trump and Cox have shown him and the families of the other fallen service members killed that day. Now, other family members of those fallen Marines and soldiers have also reached out in showing their support for what President Trump and Governor Cox did in that moment you all saw. As political and controversial as it's been, it did mean a lot to him. Live here at the state capitol, Brian Carlson, KSL 5 News. Back to you.
Brian, thank you. While that family might not see this visit as getting political, Arlington National Cemetery does. Even more, the cemetery says it violates federal law. Policy states that taking video or photos is not allowed if it conveys the impression that cemetery officials or any visitor or family member is endorsing any product, service, or organization. And when partisan politics comes into play, it's illegal because it violates the Hatch Act. Utah Governor Spencer Cox was also at Arlington with the former president.
Cox coming out today with an apology for using photos of the cemetery. Posting on X, Governor Cox said the photos were never intended to be used by the campaign, saying that they did not go through the proper channels and should not have been sent. To see the governor's full apology and hear about all the Arlington ties to Utah, be sure to read the full story. That's on KSLTV.com.